Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. The theme of this year's garden has definitely been you win some, you lose some. So in today's video, we're going to take you over to a part of the garden where we actually are celebrating some wins, and we're going to show you one of our favorite freezer meals. So if you haven't seen our video about the hailstorm, I'll link that. You can check that out if you so choose. The sweet potatoes have started to grow some new leaves and they are bouncing back. Our big problem right now is lack of heat. And so I don't know what we're gonna do. I mean, look at here. We are at the end of August, nearing the end of August, and nothing's ripening because we just have no heat. So I think one of the things we'll come in and do is really aggressively prune back. Oh, we got some down there. That's good. Prune back these leaves. But you wanted to see our big success. You can already see them. Check this out. Despite all odds, despite the hailstorm decimating the leaves, we have massive, plentiful eggplants. So we're gonna get to harvesting these and bring them inside, and we'll show you how we prep eggplant parmesan for the freezer. Okay, so we're having huge celebrations here, right? Because we actually started these plants from seed. Look at this. This is like, redonkulous is the only word that describes it. And we still have little itty bitty ones here. So we're already, and more growing. So as long as we don't get a frost.
More flowers too.
I know. So we are dreaming up all of the ways that we will use these. We're gonna take you into the kitchen and show you how we make eggplant parmesan for the freezer. It's one of our favorite freezer meals. We also really enjoy eggplant, just grilled on the barbecue, but we also really love eggplant curry. It's one of our favorites. When we were backpacking and living in Thailand many years ago, we've done baba ganoush too. But when we were in Thailand, we fell in love with eggplant and curry. And so we always try to do at least 1 or 2 meals with that. So we're gonna head inside and start making, like I said, one of our favorite freezer meals. So Paul is just slicing the eggplant slices. Please be careful with your mandolin, but this is one of the reasons why we have this tool. It works really well for eggplant parmesan. We might only have to slice one, babe. I'm trying to think how big the cookie sheets are. So from here, what we're going to do, don't mind my messy kitchen, it's preservation season. I have a colander over in the sink, and we're gonna place the eggplants there and we're gonna salt them. By salting your eggplants beforehand, that's gonna help to pull out quite a bit of moisture from them, which is what you want when you're preserving them or even when you're baking them. So we want to pull out as much moisture as possible. Then you're going to use paper towels to dab away. You can use tea towels as well to blot away all of that excess moisture. So this is going to prevent you from having soggy eggplant parmesan. So that is your first step. Slice them nice and thin, and then like I said, we usually put them in a colander, and then we liberally salt them. Why, hello there, my fellow self-sufficiency seeker. Did you know that in addition to running Spirea Herbs, my membership platform, and doing all the things I do, that I also write for a magazine called My Grounded Home? This was a passion project launched by myself and my good friend Caitlin Scott, because we really wanted to take the overwhelm out of this self-sufficiency lifestyle and the homesteading journey that many of us want to embark on. So if you are brand new to homesteading, but you're not quite sure where to start, I encourage you, head down to my description under freebies. You can grab the first issue of My Grounded Home that we launched completely for free, and you can check it out and see if it's for you. I imagine it would help you on your journey. Honestly, it's something that I wish I had had access to when I first started out. So like I said, head down to that description, click and grab your free copy of the first issue of My Grounded Home. And of course, let me know what you think. So while the eggplant is in the sink draining moisture, we're just gonna chop up some oregano and thyme from the garden. I like to use panko breadcrumbs when I make my eggplant parmesan. I do get the seasoned variety, but I like adding extra seasoning. So I'm just gonna use my mezzaluna. If you don't have one of these, why? Please buy one. They are amazing for chopping herbs. And I'm just gonna finely chop all of my culinary herbs that I'll add to the seasoning. Now, we don't fry our eggplant parmesan. I do like to bake it. So right now the oven is preheating to 350 degrees. And we'll bread our eggplant pieces. We usually do about 10 minutes, flip, and then 10 minutes on the other side. And then after that, we'll assemble our eggplant parm, but I will show you all those steps. So for now, I'm just gonna add all these extra seasonings to our breadcrumbs. I like a lot of flavor in my food. I'm not a big fan of bland food, and so I really like to add a lot of seasoning when I can. Now, normally when we make this, we are using our own homemade pasta sauce, but because we've had such a cold and wet year, our tomatoes aren't ripening, so we're using organic marinara sauce from Costco. Thank you, Costco. You know, work with what you have. Not everything has to be homegrown. But now we are ready to start breading our eggplant. Okay, so the eggplant slices were sitting for just about 10 minutes or so. We patted them dry, and now what Paul's doing is he's just taking each individual slice, dipping it in egg, and then coating it with the panko breadcrumbs. He'll get them on, we have to use parchment paper because my cookie sheets are in such terrible shape. I hate them. So if you have a recommendation for a type or a brand of cookie sheet you like that doesn't go rusty, please let me know. So we'll fill up 2 trays, try to use the oven to its max potential today, and get those baking. Like I said, we usually do about 10 minutes on one side, flip, and then 10 minutes on the other.
Come on.
Our slices have been in for 10 minutes, and of course, what did we realize we forgot to add to the breadcrumbs? Parmesan. So you can do that if you want. We're like, whatever, it doesn't really matter. We tend to
It's eggplant parmesan.
It is. Well, ours isn't. Ours will be
Eggplant.
just eggplant. So yeah, we'll flip these ones now, get them in for another 10 minutes, and then we can start to assemble our first eggplant dish cheese thing. Can we even call
Parmesan in with the cheese?
Yes, we'll do that. We'll add Parmesan in with the cheese. That works. While Paul is grating up the cheese, I have just headed over to our indoor hydroponic, or I think technically this is an aquaponic system, tower garden. I have information in my description because if you haven't considered growing food indoors, if you're able to do this as a family, if you have space for it and you're able to afford it financially, this has been one of the best purchases our little homestead has ever made. And actually, even this summer, we have grown most of our greens, chard, kale, collards, bok choy, all of our lettuces, and basil. So I'm going to pick some basil now, and I'll show you what we do with this in our eggplant parmesan. This is something that we started doing about 5 or 6 years ago, and we just love it. Our eggplant slices are out of the oven, and we're ready to start assembling our eggplant parmesan. Now, some recipes do call for dipping the eggplant pieces in flour first, and then doing egg, and then doing breadcrumbs, but I've never done that. This is always how I've done it. So you can use your traditional eggplant parmesan recipe and how you like to do it as well. This year we've decided to go and actually freeze everything in glass. I used to use aluminum containers, and I didn't really feel good about cooking my food in aluminum, so we're gonna switch to glass. This is a bit of an investment for us, but I'm excited. Plus, as my son gets older, he's eating more, so we need larger ones. So all I'm gonna do is layer my eggplant pieces. So there's a thin layer of sauce here on the bottom.
They're like perfect size.
Yeah, they are. I do have to kind of cram a
There's
little bit.
scissors there if you need to chop too.
Yeah. Oh, that's definitely too big. And then sometimes what I'll do, just like Paul said, is I'll actually go in and I'll chop some in quarters and fill in the holes. Just like that. And then from here, I'm just going to add another generous layer of sauce. And then you're just going to keep repeating these. So I'll do a few more layers and then we'll turn the camera back on and show you how.
Don't forget cheese.
Well, no, we don't do cheese. Not until the top.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Every year.
Boo.
Cheese is expensive, man. So once I'm done doing a few more of these layers, we'll turn the camera back on and show you how we finish up the meal.
Okay, so here's a tip from my favorite TV show of all time, Sopranos. This is Carmela Sopranos. It was her lasagna recipe, but whatever. Before your final layer of cheese on top, 1 row of basil leaves. So that way when this bakes, and under 1 layer of basil underneath the cheese, it's a game changer for sure.
It's really tasty. And check out those basil leaves. So these are the ones that we grew inside using the tower garden. So with this size container, these are the Pyrex quote deep dish ones. We were able to get 3 layers. So from here, once Paul is done using Carmela's trick, we will cover it with cheese and then it's ready to head into the freezer. So that is 1 eggplant Parmesan ready for the freezer. You, of course, can cover with as much cheese as you want or as little, and then Paul grated some more Parmesan on top. So at least it's actually eggplant Parmesan. Now, I've talked about this on this channel before, and if I have a video, I think I do, I'll link it. I often use freezer meals. Freezer meals, batch cooking, and pressure canned meals are some of the ways that my family is still able to enjoy fresh homegrown food that we made ourselves, a lot of the ingredients we grew ourselves and that we made from scratch, but I don't always have to cook. As a mom who homeschools and also runs my own business, I'm busy and I don't want to sacrifice my family's health and well-being with convenience foods. So if we can bust it out in the summer months and make some of our favorite freezer meals, like I said, we love eggplant Parmesan. We also really love, I used to make cabbage rolls, and then I remember watching Paul, this beautifully formed cabbage roll. He puts it on his plate and he just goes to town with his knife and fork and just decimates it. And I was like, why do we take all this time and effort to roll them? So now we just do cabbage roll casserole. And we're going to freeze those this year in wide mouth jars, 1 liter wide mouth mason jars, and I'll probably pull 2 out. So we do that as well. I do a bunch of pressure can meals. And so this helps me stay sane in the winter months. Now, if you're making eggplant Parmesan like I am and it's in glass, it's going to have to thaw, at least mostly thaw, because you don't want to take a frozen dish, even Pyrex, right, and then put it in your oven. The chances of it cracking is probably pretty high. So what I'll do is I'll take it out first thing in the morning. You can also, as it's still cool, put it in your oven while it's preheating. So that way the glass kind of gets used to the temperature. But please just remember, glass, ice, and hot ovens could result in cracking. Once it's thawed, it'll probably take about an hour at 350 degrees. I will sometimes cover it, and then I'll probably use parchment paper this year, and then remove the parchment paper for the last 10 minutes so that cheese gets nice and golden brown. Now, if you have any freezer meals that you love, please drop them in the comments, share with the community so we can all benefit from your experience and wisdom. If you have any questions about this recipe, I know I don't really have anything typed up. That's not really how we make this. Hopefully this was good enough instructions for everyone to follow. But if you have any questions, of course, leave those in the comments below. And until next time, this is Corinne from Spirea Herbs, wishing you health, wellness, and happy preservation.